Hey crafters, welcome back to my channel Because I'm Crafty. My name's Katelyn and today I have another sewing tutorial. I'm going to show you guys how I made some baby onesies and a matching hat to one of them. So I made two different kinds and two different sizes so that there's a bigger range going on here. So I made one in the size small of the pattern that I had with long sleeves, and the neck is just kind of like a normal neckline, and it's got a kind of keyhole opening with the back, and I put elastic with a button so that it can be easier to get on the head. And at the bottom it's just kind of like a normal baby onesie with the snaps. And then I did a larger size with the kind of wraparound neckline that you see on a lot of baby onesies, and then the normal kind of snaps at the bottom. And for the larger one, I made a matching hat to go with it, and also a larger size. So I hope you guys learned some tips and tricks during this video. There's certainly different things that you can apply to other projects. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. The long sleeve one, so the top is slightly different than the other one that I cut out. So because this one is sewn at the shoulders and the neckline is pretty small, they've accounted for a slit to be cut down the center back, so that it can be opened up and there's more space for baby's head to get through. So I've cut my slit down the center back to this dot, and I've also cut a little slit here for my notch for my center back. So I cut a piece of my matching pink fabric that I'm using with it. I've pinned it right sides together along my slit as if it's like a straight line, and I've angled it so that my point of my slit is down a bit further from the binding, and I'm going to sew at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I'm just going to catch that kitty fabric and then angle it back while keeping the 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see me sewing this, and then I'll do the finishing top stitching after. So you can see I kept my 1/4 inch seam allowance from the top coming down to my point, and that's from the edge of the binding. So I just caught that fabric there, and then I continued to the other side. I'm going to take this binding and push the part that I sewn towards the binding, fold the other side of the binding over, and then fold it again. So now it's turned to the underside. So I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch that 1/4 inch seam allowance. That should catch it fine. So we can move over to the serger and start putting on our shoulders together, so putting our front and backs together. And I'm just going to mark the center front at the bottom, like a little notch snitch, and same with the front. Back together, I'm going to put a few pins in here to hold it. So I'm going to take the neckline binding. I've got this pattern piece here, and I'm going to mark the center front. I'm going to fold my binding in half, right sides on the outside, so wrong sides together. So there's my notch. I'm going to put that right sides together with my neckline notch, which is right there. I want to finish my ends off so that when I reach the back, there'll be a finished edge. We don't want the raw edge there. So I'm going to put my right sides together and I'm just going to serge that together. And I'm just going to turn this right side out. So this is going at my end. So it'll be flipped like so. Just gonna do my same thing to the other side. Now this side's gonna come out last because I'm gonna start serging at the other side. So I want to pin my binding back a little bit because it's gonna get pushed. So I'm not gonna pin it right to the very edge. See that little extra space I've got there? The serger foot will end up pushing the binding over. So then I just want to keep my binding folded in half, put a couple pins in the rest of it. And I also want my serging to face towards the back. So I pin that down in place. So now I want to stick the chain underneath and fold that down. So I'm probably going to serge on my sleeves next, but afterwards I want to take my double needle on my regular machine and stitch this down so that it's not sticking up and kind of free. So I have my neckline finished, my front and my back here. So I'm going to take my sleeves, so I'm just going to take them together and I'm going to put a little slit at the top so I know where the shoulder should be. And I'm going to serge the bottom too because I'm going to do a double needle hem on it. So I'm going to take my right side of my body, right side of my sleeve, find my notch, match up my shoulder seam, stick a pin in there, because I want to pin my underarm. Same with the other side. I'm gonna serge with my sleeve on the bottom. I'm going to do the same to the other side. We've got our two sleeves attached now, and I'm going to go over to my regular machine so I can do my double needling, because then we can go right down the sides, down our sleeve, and then put the binding on the bottom. So I wound an extra bobbin, so I have a second thread for my double needle, and I'm just going to thread it through my machine in the same way that I have my other one. The only thing I'm doing different is one thread is going through this bottom hook that's right above my needle, and my other one will not be. Just keeps them separated before they go into the needle, so there's no chance of it getting kind of knotted up, or it shouldn't anyways. So I've got a stretch twin needle. It's a size 4/75. And I'll take the thread that's gone through this hook right before my needle and put it through the left one, and the other one that's not through the hook through the right one. Okay, and then I'm going to put my straight stitch on the biggest one it will go, which is a 4, because it doesn't normally go through as smoothly. So I'm taking my pins and folding down my hem, and I'm pinning it so that it's over my serging. So on the top side, when I double needle it, I can see where my pin's showing, and that's basically where I want my needles to be going through. And I'm just going to do a bit of feeling, making sure that my serging is going to be right underneath my needles. Kind of see where I need to be lined up with my grid on my plate, feeling the edge of my serging. That looks like a good spot to be. Now we're going to do it on the neckband. So I'm basically just taking my seam allowance, pushing it downwards, and I'm going to be doing my double needle on the kitty fabric. So we're going to go back to the serger to put our side seams together. So I'm going to pin my underarm seams together as best as I can. If you're worried about it moving, you can just go over it with your regular sewing machine. Just do a little straight stitch to hold it in place. And same thing on this side. We want our double needles to match up as well as the very end of our sleeve. So I'm going to put a pin at the end and a pin where our double needle is. You could do your hem afterwards. It's just, I find that this area is really small, so it's hard to get in there and do your double needle in that tiny circle. So I'd rather do it this way and then just tack down the seam allowance at the end. So I want to serge with my front on top, so my hem's going in first. So I'm just going to turn my pin this way. Now we have our bottom band to attach. So I'm going to grab my pattern piece and line it up with this and make any notches that I need to match up with the bottom. Take my center back notch on my binding and my center back notch on my onesie, match those together and put the pin there. Then I'm going to take my side, put it together. My serged side seam going towards the back. And then the next pin is for the center front. Find my center front notch, which is right here. Put that together. And then these match up at the side. So I'm going to end up serging those ends together first. I'm coming back over to my double needle because I want to top stitch this binding down like I did on the neckline. to my sleeve hem, I need to stitch it down basically to one side. So I'm going to take my serge tail that I left. It'll probably be a bit shorter than what I've got. And I want my serging to go towards the back, so I'm going to turn it like that way. I'm going to put a pin through it, just like so, and I'm just going to put a little straight stitch down there. So I want to give you guys a better look at this onesie. So I still have to apply my snaps to the bottom. So it'll be like that. There's the leg holes. So I still have another onesie to make, so I'll do that all at once. Here's my little sleeves. So I've got my hem all completed nice. It looks really cute. And then the back, so this will be kind of folded under. I've got these flower buttons that I think I'm going to use. So I'll just put one to one side here, and then I'm just going to cut a small piece of elastic, just a skinny one, stitch it down there so it'll be like a little loop, and then she can just loop it around the button. So I'm going to cut a little piece of elastic to sew it on, and I want to make sure it's big enough to wrap around. I think that's okay. We've got it there. First I'm going to take my loop and make the end overlap over the other. And I'm just going to put a little tack in that spot. I put a little piece of interfacing on the back of my neck band. So I'm just putting the pin around the elastic. I want to zigzag over top of this. There, so I zigzagged over that quite a few times. So there is no coming off. And then we've got the loop to go around the button just like that. So I've got my next onesie that I'm making, and I'm making the largest size that the pattern offers. And it folds over at the neckline, so the back crosses over the front shoulder. There's not an actual shoulder seam, so it's easier to get it on and off. And I cut it with some short sleeves. And I made sure to cut all my notches, especially this one at the top, because this is where the front and back need to overlap. And now I'm just going to take my banding so that I can finish the neckline. So I've got my front and back together. I think I'm going to bring my sleeves over so I can serge the hem, and then I'll go over to my sewing machine and do all the double needling. So I'll do the hem of the sleeve and the binding on my neckline. So now I'm going to find the shoulder notch for my sleeve. I'm just going to mark it there. I'm going to pin that to my body in a second. So this is my front body, this is my back body, and they have to cross over. So the back crosses over to the front, so they kind of like overlap each other. So we've got a notch right here for our front and a notch for our back, and I want to match those up. And that's our shoulder. So I'm going to pin that together. and then pin this overlapping area together. So now I'm going to take my sleeve and line it up with the same shoulder notch. Okay, so we've got our both sleeves pinned on now. I'm going to go back to the serger and serge that on. Now that I've got my sleeve attached, I can pin my side seams. I'm actually just going to go down one side because I can catch my binding for the bottom half in one side. So I've got my side seam all serged. I'll just have to tack down my seam allowance at my sleeve hem, which I can do at the end because I still have to do it to the other one, so I'll wait. And now I'm going to grab my banding so that I can finish the hem at the bottom, and then I'll do my other side seam, and that way I can catch the banding in the side seam and I don't have to sew it together first. So I've basically taken my serge and tucked my serging tail inside and pushed it towards the back, and I'm just going to put a little tack stitch in there to hold it down. So I'm just adding the bottom snaps to my onesies. So I've already done the middle one. I just found the center of my front and back, and I went ahead and did that one already. So I'm going to go ahead and do my other ones. I measured 1 inch and 1/8 away from the side of the first one I did, because once I put this one on and make that the center, it's going to be slightly closer together. So for this bottom piece here, I've got the flat snap with the prongs on it. And you want to put it in the center where you measured, and also in the center of your banding as best you can, and you want to push it through. So it's got these little sharp prongs on it, and you want to push it through so that the prongs go through the other side of the fabric. Now you can interface this part or interface that part of your band. It would definitely strengthen them. I'm going to put it down, try and push my fabric down the prongs as best as I can. And then you want to take this piece of your snap. This is the side that goes up on your snap, and that's the side that goes down. So I'm going to put that down onto my prongs. And you take the metal tool that is in the section with the snaps when you buy them, and you have to buy the same size. Put your tool down and you just hammer it. Okay, and there we go. So there's our bottom snaps. We're going to come to the top. I've got my top one done. I'm going to do the same measurements as I did before. Okay, now this time the prong is open and it goes from the bottom side. So you take the nipple part of your snap and that faces up. You drop it on the prongs. You'll feel them kind of sit in the circle of the underside of the snap. You take your tool and again put it on top. And there we go. I've got our second snap on. Put our snaps together like this. I mean, how cute is that onesie? And I've got the matching hat to go with it. So cute. So I hope you guys enjoyed this baby onesie tutorial. It was a lot of fun to make and they turned out so cute, and the fabric is really nice and soft. And there's certain steps in here that you can omit. You can do it however, which way you want with whatever machines you have, but it's just kind of a basic way to do it and the way I like to make them. But I think they turned out really well, really cute. And I really love the pairing of this purple with the kind of mint floral that's going on here. It turned out really well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below, let me know what you're currently sewing. And check out the Instagram and Facebook page, and make sure to hashtag because I'm crafty so I can see your creations as well. See you next time, crafters. Bye!